Well, obviously you're feeling the vibe of the conversation, so what are you doing staying here for so long? Keep on.
In conversations that I've had with my parents at our dinner table, and we're discussing family values, right? And growing up, and you guys have both been to my dinner table, I'm sorry you missed that, but maybe in the future.
I can imagine.
Having really deep discussions about societal changes in this country, because our baby boomers, has been a consistent thing, right? And something that I think about, which inevitably relates to movements, but family values, I do believe, change in this country. I guess the law was in '64 when, under the welfare system, there could not be a man in the household in order for you to receive assistance. So,
Wait, there could
not be a man in the household. So, now marriages broke up, or separated, or estranged, so that the man lived elsewhere. Or, people ended up procreating out of wedlock, was the term, I guess, at the time. And these kids started becoming adults in like the 80s and 90s, this is when the resurgence of like the war on drugs and all these little black kids and brown kids going to prison forever and so on for like otherwise misdemeanors and small things. And I think that these decades here kind of annihilated what were family values in these places. Like, my dad grew up in the projects in Hoboken, right? So like, he would tell me stories of, one family once a week had to clean the hallways and the stairs, and then the next family would do it. And everybody took a kind of village responsibility for where they lived and who grew up in these places, which is something that I believe we don't have today. I think that also the advent of social media and technology that has caused isolationism, for sure. But a founding, and this is going really longer than I anticipated. I'm sorry, again, 3 glasses in, but I'm just thinking out loud, like.
Have you ever thought of rapping?
I haven't, but do I have a rhythm? LOL, I didn't mean to do that. I just wonder if family values is in actuality something that is way more of a problem and is super underrated as a facet that brings society together. A village raises a child, or whatever.
Right.
And so the sheeple aspect, the having to jump on bandwagons in order to get your opinion across, your individual opinion across, like, not for nothing, Miss Ford, Professor Ford, told a female senator, Feinstein, years ago.
No.
Months ago. Thank you. And she sat. And like, I don't know, but she mentioned it, and she could have stopped there, but she also knew what could have, or what could come to pass when she did get all the way to the hearing that she had to get through. And she was complaining about death threats to her family, which is atrocious and absolutely something that people shouldn't have to freaking deal with. But you can't tell me that that wasn't a thought between her and her lawyer that may have occurred.
Well, of course it was. But I
don't want to hear that part.
But
I don't want to have to hear that.
But that's important also for the people to realize.
I disagree.
I think her doing, from what I understood about her reasons for doing it, if it felt like a social responsibility for letting people know, hey,
fine,
just so that you all know, the guy who you might vote in has this character. From her experience.
Yes.
That's something she thought people should know. I think it's also important that people know, also, for me speaking my mind, for me exercising free speech, this is happening. I'm also getting threatened. I also think that that's important.
Did it have to be
know.
filmed?
I
don't know.
Could that still have happened?
But is that a problem
doors?
with her, or is that a problem with the people who filmed her?
Also, I just want to take a crack at just the narrative that she has risked so much and been so brave. And listen, I don't know what to believe. I think that there's been super high profile cases, Duke, UVA, where rape accusations have been totally false, and they tend to actually be against guys of this type, this kind of frat boy thing, because it's very easy to believe.
Yes.
So I think it's easy to believe for a reason, which is that they rape a lot of
people.
They
do that.
But
the accuracy.
But
this does also happen.
There's a reason that stereotype exists. But the fact that everybody wants to talk about. I mean, this woman is an academic from Palo Alto, California. This woman hasn't lost a single friend. Her work life hasn't been affected. The only things that are really going to be lasting effects of this trial for Christine Blasey Ford is that her life is going to be much cooler. She's going to have super high profile friends, and she's
that's
going to
an
be
opinion,
noticed
but
everywhere
yeah.
she goes, and she's going to like have better job aspects. I mean, she's going to see a lot of benefits. Now, compare that with the way
But that's interesting. I just want to
Kavanaugh
call out.
is, yeah.
I think it's interesting the way that we talked about Colin's repercussions for speaking out,
Yeah.
and the way that we speak about her repercussions for speaking out.
well, I
Because
was saying the same thing about
the context
Kaepernick.
around his repercussions were bad. It was like, he did that, but now he's going to lose.
He is on a
all of
Nike
these things.
ad right
well,
now.
exactly, but still, the way that we spoke about it was. He did it and like all these horrible things. The way that we speak about her doing it is like, oh, she did it, but all these great things.
Well, I
I'm just-
said that. I don't think
I know,
most
but I'm
people.
just
I don't think
calling
most
out-
people
I just
are
think it's
saying
interesting.
that
I don't
all
even know
these
what it
great things
means,
have
but I
come
just think
from.
it's
I don't know. I think a lot of women are immediately behind her because she's a woman and this is what she's
And they
speaking
probably
on.
experienced things.
And they
similar.
probably, yeah, and I think it's just, I mean, it's our culture. Like, more people are going to hear her and hear her story, and I feel like not question it, or there would be less of an argument, there would be less controversy around what she's doing versus what he's doing.
I
Kaepernick versus.
just feel like the frat society thing, or their elitist kind of 1% boarding school situation, whatever the hell that they all went to, like that's a thing that happens. I'm sorry, but it happens there, right? And I'm even thinking about when we were in high school, and I'm not going to mention a name, but I'm just going to say a girl that I hung out with at my high school, which I'll also not say, but you may gather her from. Stop! I'm sorry. Anyway, the point is, there was a massive to-do about the fact that a bunch of us had went out one night, and by a bunch I mean like 7, and seemingly something untoward along these lines occurred that I didn't hear, I didn't know about, I had no idea. We walked home, it wasn't brought up, but it was in school over the loudspeaker the next
Right,
day,
like it
asking
was
me to
talked
come to the
about later.
office to talk about what do I know about this situation that occurred. Da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
3 days later, she lied.
She lied.
So several athletes were suspended. Cops came. They were questioned. The school was under surveillance. It was a huge thing.
How do we know she lied?
She said she lied. So having this sort of experience in my own understanding of the ways that this could go, I struggle. I don't not believe her because I can understand that, of course I can understand that assault or harassment of any sort is so egregious to want to talk about. You don't want to talk about it. So of course, I understand that decades have gone by before you say it. And you see someone essentially applying for a job that's going to possibly change the course of history, possibly. And you feel like you must speak out. I struggle with it being filmed.
I have a question of, with this situation with Trump right now, I believe that people
We're
could
here.
very well believe
Here we are.
that they have a moral imperative to stop Trump.
Well,
That,
I'll
like,
tell
I
you.
believe that, I believe that anti-Trump people generally at this moment, anti-Trump liberals, people who are like super, all
Yep,
about it,
yep.
feel that they have a moral imperative to
Present.
stop him at any cost.
Several are present.
And
I
I'll say
believe in
why,
here.
since we're talking about free speech.
Here we
Think
are.
about it.
No, and this is
Oh my
and
God.
this is because if we're talking about free speech, I don't think that there has been any president, someone in this position of power that has flip-flopped on what the definition of free speech is more than he has. Like, he has explicitly said time and time again that things are written in the Constitution, things should be interpreted as clear as black and white as they are, but he's the first person to raise hell when somebody like Colin Kaepernick takes a knee. So that's where I struggle, because this person is in the utmost position of authority, and I think his definition on what free speech is, and when people say something that he doesn't agree with, he raises more hell than anybody else.
Can I tell you the truth? I think that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about Colin Kaepernick and only gives a shit about what the people around him care about and the people who he cares about. I think he's the most impressionable president or politician that we've ever seen ever in all of our lifetimes. And that the truth is that since he made the gaffe about Mexicans while he was coming down a freaking, since that primary gaffe, we have made him public enemy number one. in all of the outlets that matter, Hollywood, the media, all of the all of the blue
music.
loveliness, and we've left him alone with like the actual worst people in the world, like Pence, and like we've left him alone with these people who are, I think, actually who actually are smart enough to utilize his impressionability. And we as liberals have dropped the ball 100%. And I would say that the woman, whoever, I can't remember her name, I think it's Angela something, who got freed when Kim Kardashian went to go visit Trump.
Don't remember
I think
her last
that
name.
she knows exactly how
Kim or Angela?
how effective it could be. The woman who got released, she knows how effective it can be to send a celeb in and flatter Trump. The fact that we hold all of the cards that Trump cares about, money, fanciness, and all of that stuff, all comes from blue, not red. He doesn't care about a bunch of flyover states. He only cares about our stuff. But we've left him alone and we've demonized him. And I'd say the fact that he's like, Jeb Bush's first primary ad against Donald Trump was this. These are a whole bunch of clips of Donald Trump being a liberal, saying that he is super pro-choice, saying that he believes in universal health care because it's worked in Canada, saying that like the fact is Donald Trump is a lifetime New York quasi-liberal. He's very wealthy, so he's got the trappings of wealth, but the man's a liberal. But we made him, we called him fat and orange, and
Because of why? Social media. Because how many presidents have been around for social media to have taken such an effect ever? To really,
yeah.
right? So everything that he says is we're here, friggin'. It's gonna be misconstrued. I'm not liberal, right? So everything that he says is gonna be misconstrued, of course, because that makes money. Kanye was just in his office basically saying to him, you're racist, but you don't really matter. What matters is I can have this conversation with you to your face and seemingly no one else will. And Trump was like, yeah, you
Trump
keep talking
is
to me, I'm here.
no
It's
more
cool.
of a racist than any 70-year-old billionaire white dude.
So, but then can I ask,
His
like, do you think his ability, the way
racism.
he's exercising free speech, do you think it's okay?
I'm see, the thing is I don't think he cares about free speech either. I don't think he cares about any of this stuff. We endow him with this, like, we expect that the people that get to this point are going to have these inherent morals.
Well, I think a part of the problem was that we didn't expect that he would have any morals when
Well,
he
we
got
didn't even
to
expect
that,
he would be here.
to that point.
Well, that was the other thing. Nobody expected he was going to be there. It's really hilarious to watch a supercut of everyone talking about him not being president up until literally the moment he became president. Nobody took him seriously, and again, all to liberals' peril. The problem with again us liberal or myself
Yeah,
liberals.
but do you think that conservatives, or no, not conservatives, Republicans or the far right, the people who voted for Trump, which is the
so
majority
not
of people.
all of them are far.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my lack of vocabulary. But do you think that the people who voted for Trump were thinking, oh, great, a guy who will be so easy to manipulate. Let's vote for him so
No.
we can... Exactly.
I don't think that they
there
thought
was
that.
something that he was saying that incited them that did not incite...
He was being a reality show character, is what he was doing. And we, as Americans, and on the stupider end of Americans, we really love that shit. And so what he did is he rolled into politics and made it reality TV, and it appealed to the lowest common denominator of American citizenry.
We're blaming at the fault of the liberals for like letting him go.
I'm saying
and
that
my thinking is
it's
like...
fine to fight him while he was attempting to become president, but then once he became president, we should have realized that like you don't get Joffrey on King of Thrones or Game of Thrones to like be a good king
Love Game of Thrones.
by telling him that he's the worst guy ever. You got to get in there. You got to be a little bit you got to realize what you're dealing with and go from there. I think that we're like too far on our thing. We're like he's the worst thing ever. He is the actual devil, and we're gonna like fight him because it's a holy war. And it's like literally a liberal holy war right now. We need to just step back and be like, could we potentially get more flies with honey on this situation? Because we're throwing out a lot of fucking vinegar.
A whole lot. It's a lot.
A lot of vinegar. And it's unfortunately it's carried over so that, the things that I read about Kanye just recently, like what's his name, calling him a minstrel, and I've seen the word coon thrown out a whole bunch of times on my Facebook about Kanye today, and it's just like, what are we doing imploding like that? Because the other thing is that conservatives they really don't care so much. I mean, that's the thing. They like have their feeling, and then they all kind of coalesce around it neatly and organized, and don't really care. Like, we wonder how could a bunch of evangelical Christians vote for Trump when he's like so clearly immoral and anti, actual conservative Christian values. But it's because they don't care. They just care about the color. They're tribal like that. They don't really care about all that stuff, and they're being good. They're being one good tribe, which is like, we recognize that we want red, and so we're going to fight for red. And blue is like, well, are you blue, but are you kind of like navy blue? Or
Well,
are you
liberals
like
are
light
more
blue?
like that.
And-
They're asking all of these questions, and they're looking into things. It's not
Totally.
as black
It's just
and white.
ineffective, is all I'm saying. I don't not see the reasoning behind it. It totally makes sense. It's just that identity politics has affected
Well, that's
blue
and that's really the
not
conversation.
red.
I think we could probably spin this into another.
I just want to say
Combo.
something really fast.
Go ahead.
And I also have a question for you. So there's
Okay.
like two fast things. One thing is really annoying, but I just feel like I have to say it. Is that so I'm in school, right? And one of the things my professor always tries to do when we use statements like power, or when we use labels, or even for words, she's like, but what do you mean? Because I think with identity politics, it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm a liberal and you're a conservative. But then when we talk about actually how we feel about things, oh yeah, I agree with that. Oh, is that a conservative thing? Oh gosh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, and it's like a challenge, but to identify exactly what we're talking about, to try to, and I'm not talking at you, I'm talking to myself also, because it's hard, because I don't always know the details, but to think about it as not as blanket statements, because I think that a big issue in our society, and also just in humanity, is us and them. And the more that we create us and the more that we create them, the more opportunity there is for war, essentially.
Yeah. Division, chaos.
So,
Yeah.
and then for you, I still don't understand what it is that you don't like about the movements.
I'm an individualist,
Okay.
so I'm gonna do for me. You should do for you.
And what about family values? Can we go back to that?
The topic is what's American.
I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey, lived in a row house. There were hundreds of kids on the street. We played stickball and Johnny on the Pony and this and that. It was a easy days,
Right.
easy
LOL.
time.
No, right.
And life was good. And then Eton Pates.
The copious hyphenations that we have in this country. You're American. Were you born here? Were you born here in this United States? If you're born in this United States, I think that you are American, and this is something that can bring us together.
So then
Wait a
that's
second,
it's
people
claim.
say to you, go back to your country?
I mean, say that to black people of this country. I mean, they'll say it to me because nobody knows I'm Haitian until I open my mouth and say that. But it's not the welfare
That's
system;
true.
it's the prison system.
But
I'm just saying, like, this idea that we're upholding, that we're saying, like, this is what this country was founded on, it has never, in the entire history of this country, been true for black people.
So we just wrapped our convo, and it was excellent. We hope you liked it. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, and yes, you'll see this ending a lot because who doesn't love a little consistency, and we wanted to do it one time, so let's do it.